Taking you back now to Wisconsin, where a second day of peaceful protest gave way to clashes overnight. Police deployed tear gas onto a crowd after a group set fire to nearby businesses and vehicles. It's not clear if those setting the fires were involved in the initial demonstrations. All this comes as we learn more about 29-year-old Jacob Blake's condition. He was shot multiple times in the back by police as he tried to enter his car over the weekend. CBS News correspondent Mola Lenghi has been following this story, and he joins us now from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Mola, saw your images overnight. Give us a sense of what happened last night, the peaceful demonstrations, and then what you saw devolve overnight.
Well, yeah, Vlad, I mean, what we're seeing right here behind us is basically the product of what last night devolved into. You know, firefighters are spread out really throughout the city. They're dealing with a lot of the destruction, a lot of the damage, still finding some fires, some rekindling flames. So they're fanning out throughout the city and dealing with a lot of that. So this is the product of what last night devolved into. Most of the day yesterday, peaceful protests really throughout the day. As far as, you know, while the sun was still out. As the sun goes down, that 8 p.m. curfew kicked in, and that's when things began again to devolve. There were still a few hundred protesters who were still out past the curfew. Obviously, authorities were demanding that folks disperse, go home. They were using tools like tear gas and stun grenades to try to disperse the crowd. That would push the crowd back for a little bit, and then they would begin to creep back up to the sort of front lines of the standoff between the authorities and the protesters who were out. There were some people within those crowds who were throwing things at the authorities. Obviously, they were setting some things on fire, destroying the properties. And obviously, we're seeing the result of that. But yeah, as you mentioned, Vlad, really a devolution yesterday from what were peaceful protests really throughout the day. We saw families who were out there during the daytime, little kids with their parents, kids 5, 6, 7, 8 years old out there holding signs. And those peaceful protests were what we've come to expect of those. Chants, no justice, no peace. While authorities were out there sort of holding the line during the day, again, there was no violence, no destruction, no one throwing things at the authorities. They were just out there sort of holding their ground, chanting, doing some marching. But again, once that curfew kicked in, the protesters who were still out there, they were met with force from authorities, and those protesters responded.
What can you tell us about Blake's condition? There have been a couple of reports out there. What do you know? What have you learned?
Yeah, last check, he was in serious condition. Yesterday, we were reporting that he was in stable condition. He is in serious condition at this point, recovering from several surgeries yesterday. It's unclear if he's expected to undergo any more surgeries today. But again, right now, we know that he is in serious condition, Vlad.
And Mola, what are local officials saying about the shooting?
Well, we've heard a lot of condemnation from the mayor, from the governor's office, lieutenant governor, among others, who have condemned the shooting, condemned the video. But, of course, all of them are still saying, we have to let this investigation unfold. The internal investigation, the investigation being done by the State Department of Justice into the shooting, that's something that could obviously take a while. And, in talking to a lot of protesters, it seems like they don't want to wait. They want some sort of action to happen now, and they want that to play out in the form of a firing or something to that effect. But at the moment, the leaders, local leaders and statewide leaders are saying, while they are condemning it, saying we've got to let this investigation play out. Police union has responded to a lot of that condemnation by saying, what we saw in that video yesterday, and the video that was shot on Sunday and that we've been playing, that is just a snippet of a larger situation that we didn't see. That, there are intricacies to a sort of dynamic situation like that, police responding to a situation that the video didn't capture. The attorney for the family, Ben Crump, says the video speaks for itself. What we saw in the video is enough to tell us what happened. So while a lot of people have been condemning it, they've also been saying, let the investigation play out before we can take any sort of action.
All right, Mola Lenghi on the ground for us in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Mola, thank you for your reporting. I know you were able to get there, just in the nick of time yesterday for the CBS Evening News, because you're in New York City normally. I know your crew's in Chicago, so we thank you for your reporting. We'll speak to you later.